I hope you enjoyed the entire conversation process, which was all about how to start, how to build, and how to close conversations. But now it's time to dig deeper and get into deep conversations. Now, with deep conversations, which part of the conversation process do you think deep conversation happens? Well, it is in the building stage. You guessed that right? Great job. So, in the process of having a conversation with a person is when a deep conversation happens. Sometimes it happens instinctively or organically, but here is a technique that would help you actually start and push things in that direction if you'd really like to have a deep conversation with someone. And how to do that? Let's get started. You obviously need to start by having a basic conversation with the person, building the rapport. Maybe you already know them. If you don't, it's a good time to actually first build the rapport before you have a deep conversation. And then there are a couple of more things that you need to keep in mind before you get started with the deep conversation. Firstly, is there enough time for this, or do you have to step away? If you don't have enough time, don't start a deep conversation, because there's nothing more annoying than having to drop a great conversation midway. The next, is this the right person? And this is something you would definitely know instinctively. Is the situation, the context, the entire setting, and the purpose right? Is this the kind of connection that you want to build? Keeping all this in mind, if you want to have a deep conversation with this person and if you feel that this is the right time, here are a few steps that's going to help you build or have that great conversation. To get started with, you always start with positive emotions. You don't get off into deep conversations by just jumping into feelings, experiences. So start by building it off with positive emotions. And if you have started your conversation well, if you build that rapport, then this would already have been done. And once that is done, this is the time when you can share something a little bit more deeper about yourself. Now, here's what it is not. It's not immediately jumping and expecting the other person to share something deeper, something that is more closer to them without you sharing first. So the first thing is you need to share for the other person to feel that they can also share. Start by sharing something about yourself that is a little bit more on the deeper end, that is a little bit more close and personal to you. And next, let them share. And once you do, that is the time for them to share. Now, people might be initially hesitant, and you can definitely prompt them. Slight nudges, not entirely. What do you think? Now, I would love for you to share. Don't push, but slightly nudge them and prompt them so that they would also get to start sharing how they feel about something similar. And then comes the most important part, where you listen, where you just listen to whatever they have to say. And don't pester them with a lot of questions. Don't become interrogative at any point. Just listen and just ask a few questions just to keep moving the conversation. And please ensure that you're paying attention to the conversation. You need to be there 100%. This is a deep conversation. Now, ideally, this would be happening very organically, especially if you're interested in the person, interested in getting to know them, and you're very intent on building this connection. So being present would come naturally to you. And then the most important thing, relate, but don't interrupt them. Don't jump in with the me too. I also feel exactly the same way. Relate. Relating is not the same as instantly jumping in and saying, yeah, this is what happened with me. No. Relating is more about empathizing and being there for the person by listening. Most importantly, let the conversation build naturally and end naturally. And this is the entire process of how to have a deep conversation. Now, you don't need this written down. You just need to understand a couple of basic things when it comes to deep conversations. The idea is not to follow this step by step. The idea is for you to understand how conversations happen. You need to share for the other person to share. Prompt them a little and just keep nudging them in the direction so that they share. And when they share, be present, listen, don't interrupt, and let the conversation flow naturally. And this is how you have deep conversations. A couple of tips for you. You need to be open to share. If you're expecting to build connections, if you're expecting to have great conversations without actually sharing anything about yourself, then that is a challenge. So learning how to share, being open to sharing things about yourself is one of the key things to have good conversations. The next thing is be interested and be interesting. Share interesting things about yourself. Learn to know yourself better, become more self-aware, and in turn be curious about other people and where they come from. Want to get to know them, and that will ensure that you have great conversation. Don't be nosy, but be curious. Want to get to know, but don't push. Don't become that annoying, nosy neighbor or relative who just wants to get to know what's happening but not really interested in getting to know the person. Don't be like that. And ultimately, you should want to do this. You should want to build this connection with the person. Don't judge. Be open-minded. And these are basic necessities to have a deep conversation. I wish that you have amazing deep conversations with people. And here's the thing, it can happen instinctively, it can happen organically, or you can also make it happen with these points that I have just shared. I would love for you to try this out and let me know how it goes. Here's the thing, if you don't try, you don't know what are the problems you're going to have with this. So that's where we are currently. Maybe it feels like, oh, it's a lot. Maybe I'll just let it happen. But if there is a person whom you would really want to connect, then you need to take that step. You're going to have to take some initiative, be a little bit more proactive to do it. Learn the technique, try out the different things, because unless you do it, you don't know where you could be going wrong, what could you improve, and how much more better you can get. Because deep conversations are genuinely priceless. It's amazing when you have deep conversations, and I wish that you have more deep conversations and start enjoying connecting with people. With that, we are ending this particular video. In the next one, we're going to talk about how do you converse to connect. And I will see you in the next video.